Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is 2:37 p.m. on April 8th, 2020. I am Master Thich Thong Lai. I would like to send my greetings to all the people in the country and abroad. For the past few days, I was busy with some chores at the youth center, so I did not make any live stream session. So today, I would like to take a quick break from my day to live stream regarding some situations that are affected by the Chinese virus. I also want to talk about the recall of Mayor Ta Duc Tri and the election that affects Little Saigon. I will furthermore discuss some issues related to Chinese communists and the world. I now welcome you to follow my session. I will read a few questions that my disciples have sent me from different places around the world. Please listen to my answer to these questions. The first question is, Venerable Thich Thong Lai, we are some Buddhist followers who are living in Europe. We have a few questions to ask you. Recently, many forums, newspapers published in the United States and in the world, as well as the US and European media networks all say that many countries around the world will file claims to the International Court and the United Nations for compensation that is worth over $20 trillion. However, the Chinese communists are already poor, plus the damages from the pandemic. How could they have money to compensate to the United States, United Kingdom, India, and many other countries? If the plaintiffs won the case, where does the Chinese communists find the money to compensate for the damages to these countries? Who will be responsible to demand the Chinese communists to pay off these compensation? Respectfully yours. We wish you safety during this outbreak. Well, as you remember, the king of egg rolls in Europe was doing business with Vietnamese communists and got robbed by them. He got imprisoned unjustly. He filed a lawsuit and won the case. It was a personal loss story. For now, I will not talk about other countries. I will instead talk about the United States. The United States will not leave this case alone. They will sue China. I want to make it clear that when the pandemic in the United States will be declined and stopped, the number of recovery increase, this pandemic will be halted. The United States will have a very firm reaction, especially from the White House, under the direction of President Donald Trump. President Trump is the one who cannot easily ignore this. I assure you that his priority is Americans first. He will then begin to punish the cause of this Wuhan virus. The Chinese communists collide with the WHO to attack people in the world, not just the United States. Where do the communist Chinese find the money to pay? Well, ladies and gentlemen, China is now holding trillions of dollars worth of U.S. bonds. I reiterate, the Chinese communists, before the coronavirus Wuhan incident, has invested trillions of U.S. bonds in the U.S. And if the U.S. wins the lawsuit, the U.S. bonds will be used to deduct for the compensation. The remaining debt will be calculated later. All the companies that Chinese communists has invested around the world in a One Belt Road program will be reevaluated as well. The amount of money that the Chinese communists had lent to the poor nations and the developed countries were thousands of billions of dollars. All these countries will compensate all the assets of Chinese communists. For example, in Bangladesh, the poor country, they also let Chinese communists invest in all the ports and airports. When Bangladesh wins the war, they will have the right to write off their debt. All these facilities will be determined by international courts. It will be compensated for compensation of the damages of the Chinese virus. You shouldn't worry. The international court will do this, and the Chinese communists cannot run away. All the money that the Chinese communists have invested around the world will be frozen. Countries around the world will have this seclusion policy with China. Prior to the collapse of the Berlin Wall, In 1989, the world has nothing to punish Chinese communists. Since the day the Chinese communists joined the WTO, the World Trade Organization, the Chinese communists has gained prosperity for the past 20 years. The profit gained by doing business with the world and by thousands of companies, millions and billions of US dollars have been invested into Chinese communists. Japan, Australia, Europe also poured enormous investment in Chinese communists. If Chinese communists do not compensate, then they will be dead. The Chinese communists will return to the Stone Age. They will no longer have enough to feed the people. The former Soviet Union, which is Russia, will still have to buy U.S. wheat. President Trump has stopped the $3 billion purchase of soybean, chicken, and meat that helped the Chinese communists relieve hunger in this pandemic. The United States stopped immediately and do not sell $3 billion of exports to China. You can go to the Google search to see the amount of money that all the U.S. companies have invested before this pandemic in China was $2.1 trillion, and the number of U.S. bonds owned by China is $1.1 trillion. The United States will not pay back the bonds and foreclose the debt so they can be compensated for all the U.S. companies due to the corona pandemic. So think about it. When the international court processes all the lawsuits from all the countries in the world will look at China as an enemy. When Vietnamese communists are the only one who want to be friends with Chinese communists. Nowadays, as you go out, you can see the eyes of hatred when they see us as an Eastern Asians. Then you know the anger has accumulated on the Chinese people. And at that time, anyone who is friends with the Chinese communists will become the enemy of the world as well. I can assure you. I did not know what other countries will do, but the United States will win this lawsuit. The United States will be able to make the Chinese pay by using the bonding money that was invested all over the U.S. That's my personal point of view. In other countries too, especially in the United States, Chinese communists will not have a single coin left. I believe the Chinese communist bank accounts will be frozen and Chinese communists will have no way out. During and after this pandemic, the Chinese communists will be tumbled because of the compensation of over hundreds of countries in the world. Now, for the second question. Master, we know that on April 14, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe will have a summit meeting with Chinese Communist Party President Xi Jinping to discuss the issue of business between the two countries. Many Japanese countries simultaneously withdrew from China. There are companies that have invested trillions of dollars, such as Honda, Toyota, Mitsubishi, Sony, and many countries of Japan are withdrawing from China since the outbreak of the coronavirus in China since the beginning of January 2020. I know that the Japanese Prime Minister canceled this summit meeting. And last month, in one of your live streams, you said that the only door to the free world for Xi Jinping is the negotiation to the summit with Japanese Prime Minister. However, the Japanese Prime Minister has closed this door by not meeting Xi Jinping because he did not agree with Xi's response to the coronavirus pandemic. The virus spread all over the world, causing damage to all Japanese countries. So, according to your opinion, how would the Prime Minister Abe decide on this issue of refusal to attend the summit with Xi Jinping? Signed on April 14, 2020. Wishing you well. Let me get back to the point where I said the United States does not talk to nor approach Xi Jinping, and no other countries in the G7 bloc and in the world would approach him. The only door left is the summit meeting between Japanese Prime Minister and Xi Jinping on April the 14th. However, the Japanese Prime Minister recently announced on Japanese media in the world that he would not approach Xi Jinping because he does not agree with how Xi Jinping dealt with the coronavirus Wuhan. Xi Jinping let the virus spread around the world and cause damage to Japan and the world. This is where you need to pay attention. After Prime Minister Abe announced that he would not meet Xi Jinping on April the 14th, he further announced that he would provide a budget of $2.2 trillion to subsidize all Japanese countries that are doing business in Japan to relocate from the Chinese communists because of this Wuhan coronavirus incident. He asked the Japanese Congress to spend a budget of $2.2 trillion to compensate all Japanese companies doing business in Japan to relocate. He didn't say these companies have to move back to Japan. He said that they need to relocate from China to any other country and receive compensation funding. These companies just give the damage report of billions of dollars and he will give the money to them. All Japanese companies are working in China before the Corona Wuhan outbreak to close their facilities in China and relocate in any country other than China. He will use $2.2 billion to subsidize these countries so they won't lose their profit. In my personal view, this is a declaration of war by the Prime Minister of Japan to Xi Jinping's policy. And the door to the free world is finally closed because the summit on April 14th between Japanese Prime Minister and President Xi Jinping will not happen. Japan is the only country that can talk with Xi Jinping to heal the dissatisfaction of China and other free nations in the world. The door is closed and the war will come one day. You can see clearly that the Japanese Prime Minister declared that he would pay compensation for all Japanese countries withdrawing from Chinese communists because of the Chinese coronavirus with a funding aid of $2.2 trillion. These companies don't have to go back to Japan. They can relocate to any other country, such as Honda moves to Taiwan. He still gives the compensation fund. If they move to Singapore, he will also give the same amount of money. Any country except staying in China. This is an indirect declaration of war from the Japanese Prime Minister to the Chinese Communist government. That is my analysis. People ask me when the United States and the world will stop punishing the Chinese communists. Please listen carefully. As soon as the vaccine for this pandemic is available and the pandemic in the United States has stopped, that will be the day the United States punishes Chinese communists with everything, including the military force. I will tell you clearly. And what is the reason for the United States to punish and make the Chinese communists to appear before the International Court of the United Nations? Well, the reason is WHO. WHO is a World Health Organization of over hundreds of countries in the world. Any countries that are members of the United Nations are also members of the WHO. And in the rules of acquisition is to protect the health of the world. This organization has a regulation that any country on this planet has a threat to the life of the entire human race within 3 days, they have to submit a report to the world, to the United Nations Security Forum, to the president of WHO. This country must report the situation and disease pattern. For example, the Chinese communists began to discover the virus has escaped from the P4 microbiology laboratory of the Chinese communists. Xi Jinping had to report to the WHO within 3 days. And this organization will have a meeting at the United Nations Security Council and raise alarms where the virus comes from and whether to spread it from animals to human. You remember, in the year 2000, when the avian flu started, the infected country had to report to the organizers of WHO. And this organization held a press conference to inform all the ambassadors at the United Nations how to stop the flu. This is one of the requirements that all members of the UN Security Council have to follow. China is one of the 5 very important countries that has veto power, not just an association. However, China was hiding the plague. It was also the WHO president's fault. He received the money from the Chinese communists. During a press conference Tedros failed to claim the dangers of this viral infection. Instead, he said that according to the Chinese report, this is a virus that came from bats, and China has said that there is no human-to-human spread. Only those who eat and come in contact with the bat will be infected with the coronavirus. He knew Xi Jinping's report without warning the world that the Chinese Wuhan virus is spreading from human to human, not from bat to human. This is one of the reasons that the President of the United Nations would utilize to file claims against Xi Jinping. The Chinese Communist leaders and the President of the WHO, the United Nations Forum, was misinformed by these people. It was not until a few weeks later that the WHO President announced that a pandemic had been global, while in early December, the Chinese Communists already knew about this virus leakage from the P4 laboratory. This information was informed by a group of physicians, leading by Dr. Lai, who died more than a month ago. He was arrested because he has spoken the truth. Most recently, the spokesman of the White House has said at the press conference that China knows this virus Wuhan would wreak havoc on the world in December 2019. Therefore, stating January 24, 2020, China brought 2.2 billion masks, indicating that China knew this coronavirus attacked Wuhan city in December. And on January 21, the advisor of the White House announced that China accidentally revealed the truth. They have discovered evidence that China brought all masks in the world from the United States, Britain to other countries in the world. 2.2 billion masks was brought by China. China has prepared and tried to hide spreading of the coronavirus. Wuhan. Many times the U.S. CDC delegation had asked Xi Jinping to allow the army of white gowns to go to Wuhan city to help fight against this pandemic. If you go back to the 7th of November 29, I had an information to inform you that there was an outbreak in China and this outbreak was spreading. I received this information from my Vietnamese fellow disciple who has married to a Chinese husband. I had to alert everybody by a live stream session on January 7th. I said China had an epidemic. My female disciple does not know it was the coronavirus Wuhan. She was thinking that the SARS outbreak had occurred in Wuhan city. Many of you should watch it again. On November 7th, I raised my alarm. The White House advisor, Peter Navarro, has full evidence that the Chinese Communists purchased 2.2 billion masks to prepare for the pandemic. And recently, many people who do not have a broad level of knowledge have spoken out against the United States, claiming, as a superpower and richest country in the world in terms of military economic, the U.S. does not have sufficient masks. To understand this, you have to go back in history. The United States does not make masks, and the United States allows allows companies like 3M to produce masks. These companies invest in China because of the cheap labor. Think about it. The profit of selling 1 million masks is not as much as selling a Boeing aircraft. Selling many millions of masks is not as much as selling an F-35 or selling a Tomahawk missile. So all these change business were manufactured companies in China for cheap labor. So all the chain businesses were handled by the Chinese Communists. This is American companies that are not manufactured in the U.S. but investing in manufacturing companies in China for cheap labor. Before the epidemic broke out, the goods that you buy in Walmart are 99% made from China. The Chinese people existed all over the world. Right in New York, there were over 430,000 Chinese who had flown back to China to celebrate Chinese New Year's. In New Jersey, 180,000 Chinese had returned to the countryside to celebrate as well. These people were ordered by their relatives, and they brought all the masks that were sold in the United States. Prior to the outbreak, you can buy masks anywhere, such as Home Depot or even Target. As soon as the Chinese communists knew that there would be a suicide bombing attack in the U.S., on January 24, they brought all the masks in the United States, and then when the epidemic happened, all Chinese communist factories did not export masks to the United States, although they were invested by American company 3M. The Chinese took advantage of the pandemic and stated because of the isolation, all factories were closed, and Taiwan is a country that has to stood up to fill the gap. As a long-time retailer, Taiwan has increased its production of millions of masks day and night to provide for countries around the world. Taiwan had increased its production of millions of masks to provide for countries around the world. Taiwan has filled the holes created by China. It can't be done overnight. General Motors is making cars, and they switched to make masks. They also need time to prepare equipment and material. So you can clearly see the Chinese Communists has instructed their undercover intelligence agents and minions in the United States to make the claim that the United States is not a superpower country because of their shortage of masks. Yes, it is true. However, the United States produced Boeing, F-35 and F-16. The United States produced heavy industries that sell one item for a few $1 billion. The United States did not make chump change money, earn a few cents on a mask. The Chinese knew about this problem, and they used the pandemic to create a crisis. The Chinese communists hoarded 2.2 billion masks and did not provide adequate information to the WHO. The United States also paid a lot of money for the WHO. President Donald Trump announced that he would immediately cut the money for the WHO. Each year, the U.S. has given $1 billion to the WHO. However, this money did not go into the chairman's pocket. Instead, it went into the budget to pay for white coat armies of nurses and doctors who were going to areas where disease is infecting to prevent and protect public health. Xi Jinping also provided support for the WHO president as well, but his money was in a separate pocket, so the chairman can buy houses, villas, and deposit into his Swiss account. President Donald Trump said in yesterday's press conference that the United States will hold a donation fund to the health organization WHO. The chairman of the World Health Organization shook hands with Xi Jinping to put the world into crisis. The president of the WHO now has almost 800,000 signatures calling him to resign. At present, the United States and the world have not touched him. After this pandemic has resolved, this guy will be condemned as a criminal of humanity. People make atomic bombs to kill. The most they can kill with an atomic bomb is 1 or 2 cities. However, the person who makes the viral weapon can kill more than hundreds of countries in the world. During World War II, the Japanese emperor sent aircrafts to bomb a U.S. naval base in Hawaii, killing over 2,000 soldiers. Xi Jinping has hidden information about the coronavirus that caused over 1 million people to get infected, and the death toll is now tens of thousands of people. All people in the world consider Xi Jinping as an enemy, and only the Socialist Republic of Vietnam consider China as an ally. Therefore, one day, not far from now, Vietnam will become an enemy of the world. Once again, I would like to thank all of my Buddhist followers who live in the Westminster area of Southern California for their support and their precious time to defend for Ta Duc Tri, the mayor of Westminster, for Kimberly Ho, the vice mayor, and Councilman Charlie Nguyen from being recalled. These official members are still working and serving the people. That proves the righteous cause always wins, and deep pockets cannot break the law. The Bulgarian has used a lot of money to support the recall of the incumbent mayor of Westminster, but failed miserably. Once again, I would like to thank all of my Buddhist followers for listening to my call and to continue to vote to protect the Little Saigon from falling into the hands of Chinese and Vietnamese communists. Congratulations once again to Mayor Ta Duc Tri, Deputy Mayor Kimberly Ho, Councilmember Nguyen for serving the Republic of Vietnam and bringing benefits to the Vietnamese people. The big Saigon has lost, but little Saigon is never to lose to the hands of the Vietnamese communists and Chinese communists. Respectfully yours.
Cho nên tất cả các nhà máy đều đóng cửa. Và quý vị biết Đài Loan là cái đất nước đã nhảy vào trám cái lỗ hổng mà lâu nay những cái công ty mà làm ra bạc cắt là như công ty làm khẩu trang Đài Loan ngày đêm tung ra hàng triệu cái khẩu trang để mà bán cho các nước trên thế giới, vì Đài Loan đã trám vào cái lỗ hổng mà Trung Quốc dùng cái thế đó. Không thể một sáng một chiều hãng GM nó đang làm xe mà họ chuyển qua làm cái khẩu trang thì họ cũng phải có thời gian set up máy móc, set up thiết bị. Cho nên quý vị thấy rõ, cho nên ngay cái lúc này Tàu Cộng đã chỉ thị cho những tên tình báo Hoa Nam, cho những cái tên ăn cơm quốc gia thờ ma cộng sản nằm dùng tại Hoa Kỳ để nói rằng Hoa Kỳ là cái nước coi như không có vĩ đại, siêu cường quốc mà không có khẩu trang. Đúng rồi, Hoa Kỳ sản xuất Boeing, Hoa Kỳ sản xuất F-35, Hoa Kỳ sản xuất F-16, Hoa Kỳ sản xuất tất cả những cái gì mà thuộc về công nghiệp nặng, bán một cái kiếm vài tỷ đô la, chứ Hoa Kỳ không có kiếm bạc cắt, kiếm mấy chục sen trên mỗi một cái khẩu trang. Và Tàu Cộng biết rõ cái vấn đề này, cho nên Tàu Cộng mới làm lên một cái chuyện khủng hoảng. Và cũng vì cái vấn đề Tàu Cộng tích trữ 2,2 tỷ cái khẩu trang, Tàu Cộng không cung cấp tin tức chính thức cho tổ chức WHO, và tổ chức WHO cũng đã ăn tiền của Hoa Kỳ rất nhiều mà lại phục vụ cho Tàu Cộng. Tại sao vậy? Tổng thống Donald Trump tuyên bố ông sẽ cắt ngay cái khoản tiền mà viện trợ cho tổ chức này hàng năm lên tới nhiều tỷ đô la. Vì cái số tiền Hoa Kỳ viện trợ cho tổ chức WHO này là số tiền nó không đi vào cái túi của ông chủ tịch tổ chức WHO, mà nó đi vào ở trong cái ngân sách để mà các đội quân áo trắng, các bác sĩ y tá đi đến các vùng mà có dịch để mà chặn đứng, để giúp sức khỏe cho cộng đồng. Còn Tập Cận Bình cũng chi viện cho ông coi như chủ tịch tổ chức WHO, nhưng mà số tiền này lại được bỏ túi riêng để cho ông chủ tịch cái tổ chức WHO xây nhà, mua biệt thự và gửi tiền vào trong nhà băng Thụy Sĩ. Cho nên ông Trump ông có nói một câu trong một cuộc họp báo ngày hôm qua là Hoa Kỳ đóng góp tiền rất nhiều cho tổ chức sức khỏe WHO, nhưng mà ông chủ tịch của tổ chức sức khỏe này lại bắt tay với Tập Cận Bình để mà coi như làm cho thế giới rơi vào cuộc khủng hoảng. Và cái ông này hiện giờ đã có bị tới gần 800.000 chữ ký kêu gọi recall. Hiện giờ thì Hoa Kỳ chưa rờ gái tới ổng đâu, thế giới chưa rờ gái tới ông chủ tịch WHO đâu. Nhưng mà sau cơn đại dịch này đã giải quyết xong thì cái tên này là một tên tội phạm chiến tranh, tội phạm dưới nhân loại. Người chế ra vũ khí nguyên tử có giết là giết 1-2 thành phố, nhưng mà người chế ra vũ khí di trùng giết hại coi như hiện tại 100 mấy chục quốc gia trên thế giới. Và quý vị thấy rõ trong trận chiến của Hoa Kỳ với Nhật Bản đệ nhị thế chiến, khi mà Nhật Hoàng đưa máy bay oanh tạc căn cứ hải quân tại Hawaii thì giết 2.000 mấy trăm lính hải quân. Và bây giờ Tập Cận Bình đã giấu giếm thông tin về virus Corona Wuhan, đã làm cho con số lây nhiễm lên tới cả triệu người, và con số chết bây giờ lên tới con số mấy chục ngàn người. Và tất cả người trên thế giới đều coi Tập Cận Bình là kẻ thù, và chỉ có nước Việt Cộng hòa xã hội chủ nghĩa Việt Nam là coi Tàu Cộng là đồng minh. Cho nên hiện tại Việt Nam cũng trở thành kẻ thù của thế giới một ngày không xa. Và một lần nữa tôi xin gửi lời cảm ơn tất cả những đồng bào Phật tử của Thầy cư ngụ tại vùng Westminster ở miền Nam Cali đã không có coi như là đã ủng hộ và đã dành rất nhiều thời gian quý báu của mình để đi bỏ phiếu, để bảo vệ tất cả các dân cử mà của người Việt quốc gia, đã bảo vệ cho Tạ Đức Trí thị trưởng thành phố Westminster, bảo vệ cho Kimberly Hồ, phó thị trưởng, và bảo vệ cho nghị viên Chí đã tái coi như không bị rì khô và vẫn tiếp tục làm việc, cho thấy rằng chánh nghĩa lúc nào cũng thắng. Và cái câu đa kim ngân phá luật lệ không đúng, và tên trọc phú này đã dùng rất nhiều tiền để mà yểm trợ cho cái cuộc mà bãi nhiệm coi như thị trưởng, phó thị trưởng và nghị viên của thành phố Westminster đã thất bại. Và tôi xin gửi lời cảm ơn đến tất cả đồng bào Phật tử của thầy đã nghe lời kêu gọi của thầy và tiếp tục đi bỏ phiếu rất đông để bảo vệ Little Sài Gòn không rơi vào tay của Việt Cộng, Tàu Cộng và Việt Giang. Và một lần nữa xin chúc mừng thị trưởng Ta Duc Tri, phó thị trưởng Kimberly Hồ và nghị viên Chí đã tiếp tục ngồi lại để phục vụ cộng đồng, phục vụ Việt Nam Cộng Hòa và đem lại quyền lợi cho người Việt quốc gia. Sài Gòn lớn đã mất, Sài Gòn nhỏ không bao giờ để mất vào tay Việt Cộng, Việt Giang và Trung Cộng. Trân trọng kính chào quý vị.